Hi everyone, welcome back. We've got a brand new story to share today. So, let's get started. My name is Jameson. Sometimes, the worst thing someone does to you is a blessing. When my wife refused to speak to me for 28 days straight, using silence to control me and make me do what she wanted, she accidentally gave me something else, time to think. And during those 20 quiet days, I discovered that my life felt calmer, lighter, and honestly happier without her constant emotional stress. Now that she's talking again and trying to act better, I can't stop thinking about one thing. The peace I felt without her is the peace I want for good. We met when we were in our 20s. We were both living in Phoenix, still figuring out our lives like most people in their mid-20s. I worked in a publishing company. The job paid well and had room for me to keep moving up and expanding. Valerie, my wife, worked in retail. She didn't really care about building a career. Her main goal was to become a stay-at-home wife eventually. After we met, we hit it off right away because we were attracted to each other and thought we wanted the same kind of future. A few weeks later, we officially started dating. Things moved fast. After 8 months, we moved in together. A year and a half later, we were engaged. We had a simple wedding with close friends and family, nothing fancy. And then we settled into married life. About 2 years into our marriage, Valerie quit her job. She said she wanted to focus on taking care of our home and preparing for when we'd eventually have kids. I supported her choice because my salary was enough to support both of us comfortably. But the kids never came. We tried for a while, but nothing happened. At some point, we quietly gave up without ever talking about other options like fertility treatments or adoption. The topic just disappeared from our lives. So Valerie ended up being a stay-at-home wife with no kids to look after. Her daily tasks were cooking, cleaning, and doing a little shopping. But since our house wasn't huge and it was only the two of us, the work wasn't difficult or time-consuming. Over the years, things slowly changed in our relationship. Even though Valerie didn't bring in any income, she ended up having almost all the control in our lives. She handled all the money, decided how we spent it, and had strong opinions about every important choice we needed to make. If something wasn't done the way she wanted, she would pull away from me emotionally, becoming cold, quiet, and distant. She didn't yell or argue much, she just withdrew. Her silence and mood made it very clear that I had disappointed her. The tension would hang in the air until I apologized or gave in to whatever she wanted. Whenever I tried to question one of her decisions or tried to stand up for myself, she acted like I was attacking her. She would say she felt unappreciated or that I didn't value everything she did for our home. She would accuse me of not listening to her or not caring about her feelings. In her eyes, any disagreement wasn't a difference of opinion. It was me being insensitive. Over time, both of us built up much unspoken anger. The silent treatment had always been one of Valerie's habits. Typically, it lasted just a few hours after a disagreement, a cold shoulder, short answers, or complete silence. Sometimes it lasted a day or two if she was distraught. But eventually I'd give in, apologize, or do things her way, and she would return to normal. But the situation changed when I bought a car. It wasn't just any car. This was a vintage muscle car I had dreamed about since I was a teenager. I had been saving money separately for years, entirely apart from our regular household budget. One day, I found the exact car I'd always wanted. It was in excellent condition and at a fair price. It was about 3 hours away, so I decided to buy it. I told Valerie I was going to do it, but I didn't ask for permission because this was something I had saved for. When I actually went and bought the car, she exploded with anger. She said she felt blindsided, even though I had told her beforehand. She insisted that we should have discussed it in more detail. She said the money should have gone towards something more practical or been saved for emergencies. She called me selfish and inconsiderate. I tried to explain calmly that I had been dreaming of this car my whole life. I told her I used my own savings and that our regular bills and finances were not affected. I told her this was something important to me. She refused to listen. Instead of talking about it like adults, she went straight into full silent treatment mode. She stopped speaking to me altogether. She ignored my questions, walked past me without looking at me, and acted like I didn't exist. But this time, the silence didn't end after a day or two. It kept going. She remained completely shut down. No words, no emotion, no connection at all. Within the first few days, the real effects of her silent treatment started to show. I would come home from work tired and hungry, and nothing would be cooked, even though there was plenty of food in the kitchen, and she had been home all day. If something in the house needed fixing or cleaning, she ignored it as if it weren't her problem. When I asked her simple, direct questions, she just stared straight ahead, acting like I wasn't even in the room. I tried many times to talk to her. I asked what was wrong, even though I already knew it was about the car I bought. I told her we needed to act like adults and discuss it. I even apologized for upsetting her, even though I wasn't sorry for purchasing the car in the first place. But she refused to respond. She kept up the silent treatment as if nothing I said mattered. It felt like she wanted me to keep begging for her attention, like she expected me to chase her, apologize over and over, and practically crawl back to her until she finally felt like talking again. After almost 3 days of being treated like a ghost in my own home, something in me changed completely. I stopped trying to get her to speak. I stopped apologizing. I stopped trying to fix the relationship on my own. Instead, I started living as if I were alone. I cooked my own meals, simple dishes I actually liked. I tried new recipes and realized I enjoyed cooking when it wasn't a chore or something she would judge. I put more energy into my job, stayed late, and felt proud of getting real work done, something I hadn't felt in a while because I'd been spending so much energy dealing with her moods. As the days go by, I pick up old hobbies I had given up years ago. I worked on my car in the garage. I began going to the gym. I got books I'd always wanted to read. These were all things I stopped doing because she would complain that they took my attention away from her. I even slept better. Without constantly worrying about her emotions, I fell asleep quickly and woke up feeling rested. The heavy stress I had been carrying around slowly faded. During the days I don't go to the office, I feel calmer. I finally saw how much of my energy had been spent trying to keep her happy and not upset her. Without that pressure, I had room to breathe. I tried to reconnect with friends I hadn't spoken to in months or even years, friends I used to hang out with all the time before I got married. I texted them to grab drinks or watch a game. I stayed out later without worrying about how she would react. She wasn't talking to me anyway. After about 2 weeks, I had a huge realization. My life was actually peaceful without Valerie's emotional presence. For the first time in years, I felt relaxed in my own home. I could breathe without checking her mood. I could make decisions without being scared of how she'd respond. The silence she meant to use as punishment ended up setting me free. I wasn't suffering from her ignoring me. I was finally thriving. As the days went by and she still refused to speak to me, I realized I didn't care anymore. I stopped trying to fix our relationship. I stopped tiptoeing around the house, scared of making her upset. I stopped begging for even a tiny bit of affection or approval. I stopped trying to start conversations she clearly didn't want. I even stopped feeling guilty about buying things with money I had saved for myself. Instead, I started seriously thinking about what my life might look like without Valerie, completely without her. It didn't feel like a scary what if anymore. It felt like a real option, a choice I could actually make. And for the first time in many years, the idea didn't make me panic. Instead, it almost felt peaceful. The quiet, the freedom, the space to breathe, everything I felt during her silent treatment made me realize this was the kind of life I wanted all the time, not something temporary that happened only because she was punishing me. Then, on day 28, something strange happened. I was making coffee before work when Valerie suddenly started speaking to me again. No explanation or mention of the almost month-long silence. She just acted like everything was perfectly normal. She asked what I wanted for dinner, then proceeded to talk about a TV show she'd watched. She behaved as if the last 4 weeks hadn't happened at all. She clearly expected me to be happy that she was talking again, to be relieved and return to the old pattern in which her voice was a kind of reward. But something in me had entirely changed during those silent days. My mind had moved on. I wasn't angry that she was speaking again, but I wasn't excited either. All I felt was nothing, just a deep, calm emptiness whenever I looked at her. In the days after, I quietly started researching divorce. I didn't make any big decisions yet, but I began reading about the process, how it worked, how much it cost, how our money and belongings would be split. I wasn't planning it right away, but I was preparing myself for the possibility. Valerie noticed the difference in me. She saw that I wasn't warming up to her like before. I wasn't playing the game where her silence was punishment and her speaking again was a gift. I didn't rush to give her attention, affection, or appreciation. Instead, I kept living as I had during the silence, making my own meals, following my own schedule, and treating her more like a roommate than a wife. My indifference clearly shook her. She expected the old version of me, the one who tried desperately to keep the peace. But that person was gone, and she didn't know what to do with the new one. About a week after she finally started talking to me again, she woke me up in the middle of the night, saying we needed to talk about what was happening between us. I sat up, tired and not in the mood for a deep conversation, but I figured we could do it. There was no point waiting anymore. She started the way I expected. She wanted comfort. She wanted me to tell her everything would be okay. She wanted reassurance that our marriage was still strong, even after everything that had happened. She wanted me to make her feel safe again. But I didn't give her soft answers. I gave her the truth, completely and honestly. I told her that for the past 7 years, her behavior had been manipulative. She had used pulling away emotionally as a weapon to control me. That giving me the silent treatment for almost a month was cruel, and no partner should do that. I told her she always wanted things her own way and never cared about my side or my needs. I told her she tried to take charge of our marriage and even our finances, even though she didn't bring in any income. And I told her I'd spent years walking on eggshells around her, scared to upset her or start another fight. Right away, she got defensive while making excuses. She said I didn't understand how stressful it was to run the house. I didn't appreciate everything she did. And she only stopped talking because I never listened to her concerns. I didn't argue with her. I didn't try to go back and forth. I just said, this marriage is probably over. I can't live like this anymore. Her whole expression changed. It was like the words didn't make sense to her. She had clearly expected me to say something comforting, something like we'll fix this, or we'll get through it. She thought I would promise to make the marriage stronger. Instead, I told her the truth. I was done. Those 20 days of silence showed me exactly what life would be like without her. And honestly, I liked that life better. She opened her mouth to respond, but I stopped her and said, I'm tired. I have work tomorrow. We can talk more another time, but right now I need to sleep. I lay back down and closed my eyes. She stayed sitting there for a moment, not saying anything. Then she quietly left the room. I didn't know if she slept on the couch or in the guest room, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't really care. The next morning, while I was getting ready for work, Valerie came to talk to me. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept at all. Her face was serious in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. She told me she had spent the whole night thinking about everything I had said. She said she didn't want our marriage to fall apart. She didn't want to lose us. She admitted she had been wrong in many ways and that she had handled things poorly. She said she was ready to change and wanted to fix our relationship, to rebuild what we once had. I didn't jump to believe her. I told her I was willing to watch and see what she did, but I wasn't making any promises. I didn't say I would stay forever. I didn't act like everything was okay. I just said I would pay attention to whether her actions actually changed or if she was only acting differently for a short time because she was scared of the consequences. But over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. Valerie really did change, and not just for a few days. The changes were clear, steady, and real. She became calmer. She stopped arguing about every tiny thing. She let minor issues go instead of turning them into big fights. She no longer tried to control every decision. Instead, she asked for my opinion and actually listened to what I had to say. Sometimes she even lets me decide without getting upset or trying to force her way through. She also stopped using silence or passive-aggressive behavior to punish me. When something upset her, she spoke to me directly and calmly. We actually talked about our disagreements rather than her shutting down and making the whole house feel tense. Valerie also began working on herself seriously. She read books about healthy relationships and better communication. She watched videos about how to build a strong marriage. And most importantly, she didn't just learn the information, she applied it. I could see her trying, step by step, every day. These changes weren't fake. They weren't an act. They were real. Valerie was becoming a different person, more patient, more understanding, and more emotionally mature in how she treated me. Most people would look at this situation and say the marriage was saved. The wife finally understood how her behavior was hurting the relationship. She made fundamental, profound changes. The couple talked through the problems and seemed to come out stronger. On the outside, it looks like a success story. But here's the confusing truth. Even with Valerie honestly trying to change, I still feel happier when I'm alone. During those 28 days when we weren't speaking, I felt a kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. No tensión. No walking on eggshells. No worrying about whether something I said would upset her. Just silence, calm, and the ability to breathe freely. And because of that, I don't feel the same way about Valerie anymore. The bond that kept me committed to our marriage for 7 years feels broken in a way that can't be fixed. When I look at her now, I see someone I live with, not someone I'm building a future with. I feel guilty about this. She is trying. She's making a real, honest effort to change the toxic behaviors she used to have. She's doing everything a person is supposed to do when they're trying to fix a damaged relationship. But I can't force myself to feel something that just isn't there anymore. I can't pretend the connection is back when it isn't. Those 28 days showed me what my life could be like without constant stress, and I can't forget that. Sometimes I wonder if I'm being unfair. Maybe I'm not giving her enough time to prove that her change is real. Perhaps I'm giving up right when things actually could get better. What would have happened if she had just talked to me like an adult when I bought the car? If we had sat down and had a challenging but honest conversation about money and decision-making, instead of her giving me the silent treatment for a whole month. But she chose silence and manipulation instead of communication. And because of that, she unknowingly gave me 28 days to realize that I was actually better off without her. And even though she's changed now, that realization can't be taken back. When I look at other couples I know, people who had big problems but still stayed together, I see how some relationships became stronger after one partner made fundamental, profound changes. It makes me wonder if I'm being too strict. Maybe I'm not giving Valerie enough credit. Perhaps I'm judging her based on who she used to be instead of giving this new version of her a real chance. Then I imagine what divorce would actually look like. We don't have children, which makes things a lot simpler. We would have to divide our house and our things. She would probably receive spousal support because she hasn't worked in years and has no income of her own. It would cost me money, yes, but I would gain something I haven't had in a long time. The peace and freedom I felt during the 28 days she refused to speak to me. After that, I imagine what staying in the marriage would be like. Valerie might continue being this better version of herself, but I would still feel emotionally distant. We'd be married, but it would be one person trying hard and the other person emotionally checked out. Eventually, she would feel my lack of interest, and we'd fall back into old problems again. I also wonder if I owe her more time, more effort, more patience. I ask myself if I'm being cold by staying in the marriage, even though my heart isn't in it anymore. Am I being cruel if I pretend to try when I already feel gone on the inside? I feel guilty for feeling this way. I feel like I should be more forgiving, more willing to accept her changes, more willing to fight for the marriage we've built over 7 years. But I can't force feelings that are no longer there. I can't pretend a connection exists when it was broken during that month-long silence. I can't make myself want to stay when everything inside me is telling me that leaving might be the healthier choice. So now I'm stuck in the middle. My wife has changed. Our marriage looks healthier on the outside than it has in years. But I am sure of one thing. I was happier during those 28 days when she wasn't speaking to me than I am now that she finally is. I don't know what the correct answer is. I don't even know if there is a proper answer. All I know is this. The punishment she tried to give me ended up revealing a truth about myself I can't ignore. I finally understood what I need and what I don't want for my life. So now I'm left asking, am I a bad person for realizing my life might be better without my wife, even though she's finally changing? Should I give her more time to see if my feelings shift? Should I be honest with her now and tell her that I might leave despite her efforts? Do I owe her more chances since she's really trying? Or is it fair to walk away based on what I learned during her silent treatment? What do you think I should do?